All right, so this is the trailer for Atlas Fallen, which it's a gameplay presentation, which I'm happy to see. This is a game that we saw a couple of times, and it was like, oh, okay, I wonder how this is going to turn out. Is it really more of a Souls-like, or is it a God of War-like type thing, more on that action-oriented area? I think it's supposed to be a little bit in between, so I'm kind of interested to see how this goes. Once again, if you're watching on YouTube, go ahead, like, subscribe to this channel. Come to the stream on Twitch. I'm just, let's go and get it started. It was like, shut up, Trix.
Atlas Fallen is an action RPG. It's about combat, it's about fast-paced action, fighting, and using all your skills together to bring down cool big monsters.
Okay, like I said, action RPG.
So I love to work on things that are like action adventure, where you can go into a completely new space, a new fresh land, and really get into the nitty-gritty of exploring and finding hidden mysteries, and being able to artistically develop that even further is just so much fun to do.
I'm always very happy to be in this idea-finding phase and then see how can we really turn it into a real game so that everything works as a whole.
That's,
we thought, okay, we did sci-fi in the past, so let's explore fantasy.
Okay, I mean, I'm digging the environments.
The world of Atlas is a unique medieval fantasy world where mighty gods control the fate of mankind, and they really subdued all of humankind.
So you begin your journey as an unnamed, a part of a caravan transporting essence to the golden city of Bethesda.
Okay.
There are different factions in this game, and I think those you will meet most often in the game are first the fighters and the soldiers of the Thousand-Year Queen. So they're in charge of keeping the pathways clear to move the caravans with the essence through the kingdom, and they're pretty harsh against any human who opposes them.
Okay. One faction. Got this nice little round table thing going on.
We have a great level design team who has really worked on trying to figure out how we could get this knowledge from the Surge games and bring it into this new, more fast-paced, movement-oriented world.
The most interesting aspect of the world of Atlas Fallen is its scale and verticality. How can we make sure that the player cannot break out of our world, while also ensuring that they perceive the grandest possible freedom in the way they move and explore?
I mean, I think that's
out all these things in the world.
It's always important.
Super special abilities. You have the sand gliding, which is basically like surfing down.
I love movement. Like movement in games,
pretty fast-paced exploration.
just allow you to create more opportunities. You know what I mean?
Faster and faster, because we notice, oh, it's still fun, and it's even more fun if we just tune it up a bit more.
You'll also get to go to places that are completely preserved due to the world and how it is, and hidden from the sun from Thelos.
And pretty cool character designs, like I said before.
So something that inspired me during Atlas Fallen was Dune. It's really cool to see how Dune approaches sand. And what I found more interesting for me to explore with Dune as a base is to look at other fantasy titles. So going from Lord of the Rings to The Witcher, and understanding how those worlds are constructed, and then adding our visual twist. So taking real-world examples of quarries and how sand over thousands of years would affect those states has been really interesting for us to explore.
The sand is under our control. It carries us.
We try to think out of the box that we have built for us, and make the levels bigger, or the player character faster, or the monsters more interesting.
Y'all heard the voice.
You can really find many things from our previous games in our gameplay mechanics, and this was important for us. We like to preserve many things that we think are cool and that our people can do well.
So I've never played the Surge, but I've seen some stuff from it.
We decided to go with like different difficulty levels.
It looked pretty cool, you know?
The essence we keep is the body parts. That you're able to
that's
target
an
specific
FPS, I
body
believe.
parts of the enemy in order to have like a tactical angle to the combat.
So we really wanted to make the fight be something that anyone can pick up and feel like they're doing fantastic things. They are like swinging their big axes.
Yeah, so your big attacks, flashy stuff.
Feelings and sensations of power. I believe it is quite easy to pick up Atlas Fallen and start doing some things that people find cool. So the core of the combat system is what we call the momentum.
When the momentum
Okay.
is just full, you ascend into the air and smash down on the enemy and just leave him in shatters. And that, for me at least, it's super exciting.
So it's like building up a super meter type deal.
The Essence Stones are inspired by the implant, with this idea that the player will be able to tailor their playstyle and their moveset, and will be
Okay, so
unlocking
different builds, I
progressively
like
new
that.
moves, new abilities, passive and active, during the fight for the player.
I think it feels like the game really has two core pillars. One is the combat, the fighting, the action.
There's the movement.
And one is the exploration of the game world.
Okay.
Something really cool that I hope players enjoy is getting to these high vantage points in the world and just looking out at what's in the horizon. It's going to be really fun to see how people interact with this and how deep they go into the exploration in Atlas.
For such a grand game, having so much movement freedom is, I think, pretty unique. So there's a lot of choice for the player on how they can play the game and how they can engage with the world.
You're completely free to do crazy things and to mix things that are maybe more weird to other players, but if you like that, then maybe it's your play style and you have some very special fun, just do it.
Yeah, this is definitely more of just an action game
Co-op
with
experience in Atlas Fallen
you
is
know, action
unique so far
RPG.
that the game can be experienced
Third-person
from start
action
to finish,
RPG, sorry.
Almost
There we
seamlessly.
go.
But aside from that, everything is very flexible, hopping up off at any point of the game, any point of the story.
I think this
They
game
can
has
join
co-op
with a
as well.
friend, drop out,
Yeah,
continue
yeah.
solo, continue with another friend.
And that's what I think Atlas Fallen is really good at, because since we have the co-op, like a more experienced genre player can come there to help out his friend.
Okay. I mean, anything's better with co-op,
So there's
obviously.
nothing that touches humans more than the voice. And so we recorded a choir in Sofia specifically for the game, because it's another thing choirs can hardly be mimicked by technology. The intensity of the music changes within combat. So the more intense the combat gets, the more intense the music gets. My main job was to fill the world with sounds and with music, and I say sounds because it's all about sand, it's about essence, it's about this mystical world.
Well, I'm glad
that
they
you
have
try to
they have a
discover.
theme that they're really trying to stick and hook into. You know, that defines
My
this
favorite
world.
aspect of
over
Atlas
some
Fallen
other
is actually
worlds, you
that
know?
we have a very special setting and you have a very, very agile way
Yeah,
of discovering it. You can surf through it and
I'll tell you in a
still
little bit.
There's a lot waiting for you everywhere, and I think this combination is really cool.
I hope everyone will really enjoy the game. We put all of our heart into it. We took a lot of risk again, tried to do new things, and I hope in the end people will feel the passion we put in this project and will enjoy it.
I hope players really enjoy
That'll
the
be
exploration
interesting.
of the game and really enjoy the fast-paced action that they have. And this combination, I hope, is unique and give them a lot of fun.
Okay. Yes, that's Atlas Fallen. Wow, coming out August 10th. I didn't know it was that close. Only PS5 and PC, I assume. I assume it's coming out on PC as well. This is from the Sony website, so it literally could just not have the other platforms on it. But I mean, I was hoping for a little bit more gameplay, but they did show more gameplay. They showed it. I want to say the Game Awards is the first place we saw this game at. But yeah, I mean, Baldur's Gate 3, that's going to be an amazing RPG. I think that's definitely more of a serious toned RPG than some games, obviously. And they're doing a lot by it. They're fulfilling a lot of stuff. If you're into that kind of D&D or that sort of role playing, I think that game is for you. This obviously is not trying to be anywhere in that comparison. Just for a few factors, right? And I don't know how they're doing questing or how they're handling NPCs and all of that stuff, but you know, that Baldur's Gate is traditionally a series that tries to go a little bit more heavy story and deep lore. You know what I mean? That's just the mark of what that kind of RPG is. But this was oh, okay, Ruin. I didn't know. Ruin was like, oh, I just came up in here. This is an action RPG. I mean, it's a third-person action game. So I think I was listening to someone talk about RPGs earlier today. Hold on really quickly. And I kind of agree with them about RPG now is just like it's like this container, you know. almost any game, if you look at it, can be considered an RPG. Now, what defines the RPG for you could be different. And I thought about that. I was like, I mean, when you think about it, a role-playing game, every game we play, we're playing a role of a character. And so it is kind of interesting when you look at it that way. You know, someone was like, yeah, you know, Grand Theft Auto could be a role-playing game, you know. No, I don't think it's sad. It's just the fact that the definition of role-playing, right? The definition of role-playing goes to one that is, are you playing a role of another character? Are you playing a role of someone? And that role can be different whether you're playing someone else's role or you're playing your role in that world. You see what I'm saying? I thought it was like, man, that is very interesting to look at it that way. Now you have, of course, you got your stats. You know, you got some that lean more heavy into stats. You have some that lean more into like the customization and the stories that you're telling and the stories that you're experiencing. And you have some of them that are just like, you know, it's hard to talk about the genre when we start considering everything the same. It was just a very interesting way that I heard of it today from another person on a podcast talk about it, and I was like, you know, that is very true. It's a, you know, it's just a broad term. It's a broad term because are Souls-likes not RPGs? Are those not RPGs in their own rights, with stats, weapon, builds? But at the same time, you know, you want to go and talk about FF16, and that's how the argument kind of or the kind of looking at it kind of arose, was like, yeah, and if you look at FF16, you know, that's more akin to something, there's hardly any stats that you're manipulating, right? But would you consider that an RPG? And it was just like, well, you know, you're kind of playing a character in a role, but it leans more into the action oriented, to the action part of it. And I was like, yeah, an ARPG, right? So then you have that genre of ARPG, which is similar to like a Diablo or similar to even Baldur's Gate. That's an action RPG. But those two games, even when you look at them from action RPG elements, they lean differently to what they're selling and what they're focusing on, right? So I think it's just interesting to kind of like keep looking at games and looking at these topics and seeing like, oh, okay, that's an interesting way of looking at it, you know. And now, of course, a fighting game is not an RPG. You know, like a fighting game is not an RPG, you know. But you know, strategy games like a simulation game, those are themselves are somewhat an RPG in a way, right? And it's kind of weird when you think of a car racing game as an RPG. And I'm talking about sim ones specifically, not just like Need for Speed or just, I'm talking about more heavily simulated ones, right? The role is just the car. But you're manipulating the stats, you're manipulating all of the features, you know, and it's kind of interesting, you know. Those stats may as well not exist. But that's what I'm saying, right? Some will go harder into stats, some aren't going to go harder into stats, you know. Even when I kind of think about Kingdom Hearts, you know, Kingdom Hearts is an action RPG, but your stats, while they do, I think the stats matter a little bit, you can still fight 10 levels behind. You can still tough it out with lesser keyblades. You can still do these things. You still have spells that you manage, or you still have ways that you can try to fight in a way that can overcome these things. So it's interesting how I had never thought of it that way. I'd always thought of it just like A, B, C. It's got to have these check. But I think that's where it goes into the fact of it really is up to you how you define it now. Because there are so many, and they're all under so many different genres now. You know, everything has a little bit of these elements in it. So it's pretty cool. In this game, I think I remember seeing it, and the fact that they're concentrating a lot on the movement, I think that's great. I want to see more of the movement in combat, because it looks like a lot of the movement is traversal related. But I love when games take traversal movement and allow you to also have that movement in combat. You know what I mean? Because it just opens up more routes for you as a player to express how you want to fight. So that's why I'm looking forward to, hopefully, if there's some more movement tech in FF16, that's going to be great. But that's one of the things I really enjoy. And it seems like they have like a little customization. This game is not out. It's coming out on August. You probably saw it, Ruin. You definitely saw it. You did not miss it. If you watched the Game Awards what was it, last year or 2 years ago. If you watched it this year, I think it was on Summer Game Fest, you saw it. You just might not have connected it again, because they haven't shown a lot of it, honestly. It's been up maybe once or twice. You know, it hasn't been like blasted out there. So you definitely have seen it. So just wanted to kind of look at it. I saw it pop up on my feed and I was like, you know what? I remember that game. It looked pretty cool. There's another one too that is a little bit more leans a little bit more Souls-like, leans a little bit more to the Souls side. That looked pretty cool. This one has co-op, drop in, drop out co-op from what they were showing. And yeah. So if you enjoyed this, go ahead, definitely let me know how you feel about the game. Let me know how you feel about RPGs in general. Like, what do you think defines an RPG, and what do you think, you know, what do you think? Just what do you think? I don't know. I am very open to having some Discord and discussion on the YouTube. So go ahead, leave a comment, like. And remember, I do stream on Twitch every Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday from 9 p.m. Japan Standard Time. You can go ahead and check me out at NinjaTrixta on there. So thank you so much for joining, and I'll see you guys a little bit later.